Hello Internet, I'm Farrell, and here is this week's Space Engineers Update parody video for releases 1.185.5 all the way straight through 1.185.8. It's been a while since the last video, so we have a little bit of catch-up work to do. And the good news is that for these last few weeks, the dev team has been taking a bit easy on us. We start with 0.5, the update that fixed the mess from the previous week where mods were failing to download on dedicated servers. This is a nasty little surprise in the stocking for many players and was attributed to changes being made on Steam's end that Keen wasn't ready for. Ouch. Then to boot, this version also fixed an exploit with batteries not trashing power cells after being ground down and re-welded. Of course, the main problem here in my book is that the act of taking ownership over batteries should really be more of a matter of rewiring the access circuitry for the battery rather than just trashing the entire power cell in the first place. So from there we go to 0.6 update with the bug fix for batteries recharging themselves. I guess batteries were the new clouding frontier introduced over the last few weeks, but that's okay because at long last the F1 screen has been updated to finally reflect the correct key binding for the voxel hand settings, which has only been wrong for, yeah, quite some time. Then we hit the 0.7 update, which seems to be the point where more than a few people hit SaltCon1 and let fly on the forums. This update resolves a crash in the mod API, a bug where inventories on projected grids were inaccessible, cargo containers not dropping their contents when destroyed, button panels being offset on moving grids, and a flaw where text box limitations didn't matter if you copy-pasted into them. All of these are rather annoying bugs, but the real interesting piece of the update was a comment written by Royal98 in the update thread. At first glance, his post looks like many of the quote-unquote rabid fanboys defending space engineers, but as they continue to document their experience in space engineers over the years, you get a good view of just how things have changed for someone who posts a pretty beefy system spec. It's a long read, but it does a good job explaining the frustration some people feel when playing SC. And in my case, why the cooling fans on both my gaming rigs absolutely hate it when I load the game. Which brings us to this week's update 0.8. We start off this week with there being a tweak to the generation of oxygen and hydrogen, with no explanation explaining what the tweak actually was. Was it overproducing? Was it underproducing? Is it not producing a correct ratio? In a game where survival in space depends on generating oxygen, this is kind of an important thing to tell us about when it gets changed. Unless you've turned off oxygen for the performance boost of not dealing with airtight areas being calculated. Or lots of grids just constantly decompressing themselves even though there's no actual logical reason for them to do it. And last week's fix for inventories being inaccessible on welded projected grids has apparently moved on to being this week's fix for the projections being welded when the projector is turned off. Then there is a rather confusing worded fix that states late targeting of enemy drones by turrets. Well, the hypothesis here is that this is a fix for the dead horse bug, but I haven't seen any confirmation of that yet. For all we know, this just could mean that the turrets are going out to eat late at night and then forgetting to target drones until they get back home. However, the winner of the best fix by far over these last few updates is the loss of focus on text fields when moving the cursor away when typing has been resolved. That's right, the annoying glitch that forced us to carefully not move the mouse away to type has finally been vanquished. We can all sleep a little bit easier at night, and so can the forum moderators as well, as this week they stepped in to put a quash on some of the attacks that have been filtering in over the last few weeks. Remember, if you're going to be salty about the game and not the other people playing it. So where does this leave us for the last few updates? Well, keep in mind it has been the holidays, and despite this, the Space Engineers team managed to still make some headway against bugs. Certainly one hopes that the dedicated server folks appreciated having a few quiet weeks after the initial mod loading fix, and certainly the text editing fix was a late but welcome gift under the tree. The question remains though, what does Keen have planned for the new year for Space Engineers? Stay tuned.